right now. All right, so we're going to start in with the first tutorial, and you don't necessarily need to follow the instructions. I'm just going to put it up here for those people who do have access. Go ahead and open up Xcode. This is the hard part, finding the Xcode icon. If you can find the Xcode icon, what I'm going to do now is just going to give you a brief orientation to Xcode and a hello world. It's actually a pretty good hello world because it's interactive. It has a button, has a text field, has a label, has a bunch of stuff on it. So it's an intermediate level hello world. So click on where it says create a new Xcode project. We're going to create a new Xcode project. So click right here on the first option here. As I'm going through this, if someone's following, I'm trying to purposely go slow, so it's going to irritate some people. But if it's too slow, let me know. If it's too fast, let me know as well. So go ahead and click on Create a New Xcode Project. You get a screen that looks like the one that's in the tutorial. So in the tutorial, what we're going to do is actually just create a brand new project. So what we want is this one up here. It says Single View Application. So if this were an advanced iOS class, I'd say that I'd go through Model View Controller. I'm not doing that today. So instead, I'm going to tell you that these are templates. And the templates are giving you multiple view, single view, and other features. You can't necessarily program by template using this interface. Instead, you're going to select something to start with and then build things onto that as a starting point. So if I select the single view application, I'm going to get an application with a single view. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but that's the wording. So go ahead and click on Next. And then you're going to need to fill in the information. So the information is going to be the product name. They should have just said title. What are you going to call this thing? So you could call it like First App or Hello World. I already have one called Hello World, so I'm going to call it First App. First App. That way I can keep track of the first app, second app. Also on the bottom, so you have to put in an organization. I just put ITU in there. You can put self, me, your name, or something. And then under company identifier, you can actually leave that blank, or you could put in like your favorite URL, or you could put in hackerdojo.com or dojohacker.com or whatever. It's generally referred to as a package name. It's company identifier. It's the URL of your company. And then I never touch the class prefix. I always leave that one alone. And under devices, select iPhone because it's easier to work with right now. The screen's a little bit smaller. It's easier to drag and drop on the screen. So it makes a better learning environment. So select iPhone. If you didn't select iPhone, if you selected Universal, that's okay too, if you've already clicked Next. But Universal gives you both iPhone and iPad together into one app instead of building separate apps for each one of them. You're going to see what I mean in a few minutes. Put it on iPhone if you want to make your life simple. Go ahead and click on Next. And then save the app. I'm going to put mine on my desktop. Find a location to save it. Anywhere you want. It doesn't really matter. You can always move it later. And then click on Create. When you click on Create, you get this lovely little screen that's kind of intimidating, actually. This is why a lot of people don't get into this Xcode because they're like, I don't know. So there's a complete navigation system to this. The navigation works with panes or panels. It used to be that this program was broken out into like 5 or 6 different separate programs, and then they stuck it all together. So that's what made it confusing, I think. So if we look over to the left-hand side, most people can get this part. This part is the file. So it's the directory of all of the files that belong to the project. And I'm moving, I have a tendency to just rotate my mouse around where I want you to look. So if you look over here, that's where the files are. And if you click on this thing in the middle called main.storyboard.
Do you know if there's any way for us to take the sound from this room and like use it in the other room? There's like a lot of people who are trying to still get in.
Seriously?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not without using the speakers.
I don't know if there's like a technology person here.
Unfortunately, I was not prepared for that.
Yeah.
So
sorry, we're
how many people are outside?
We have like 20 people probably still wanting to.
We can bring in chairs if they want to hear inside.
Because we are at maximum capacity though. Are you okay with that? I mean, are they strict with that here?
I Thank you. All right, sorry, we are having growth issues. We're growing too big. So, all right, so hopefully at this point you've clicked on main.storyboard and you're looking at the screen up here that looks like an iPhone. You actually, if you clicked on Universal, then you're going to have one that's going to say iPhone.storyboard, iPad.storyboard. This is what they call the view. This is what you got when you created a single view application. You got one of these single views is what you got out of this. So that's why they call it a single view. But long story short, this is where you're going to drag and drop and you're going to stick things on it. The old days, they used to call it an interface builder because you're building the interface. If you really study model view controller, which this is patterned after, this is the view. So they call it a view. And the model is the data, and the controller is this thing called view controller. If you click on the view controller, anything you click on here, oh, perfect. Maybe we should bring some blankets next time. Sorry. This is actually a really good picture, though. So tell them to come back here and take a picture. This is excellent. All right. So.
We have
Yes?
a lady who's expecting who would like to attend. Would anyone volunteer to sit on the
Oh,
floor?
we have an expecting woman who needs a chair. We have an extra chair. Can we get her back there?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the next workshop that I do, I'm going to have a $5 sign up or something. That way I can determine how many people are going to come. And then those people who pay their $5 or whatever, it's a nominal fee, so that you're guaranteed a seat is what that will be for. So I apologize for those people who don't have a proper seat or power or anything. This, again, is the first event we've tried over here, so it's new. We're trying to learn. So next one will be better. But think of the bonus part of this, all the new people you can meet. And also, we have free pizza at noon. And soda and water, too. So we're going to feed you, too, hopefully. Well, I don't know, unless we get more people and run out of food. But anyway. All right, hopefully we won't. Anyway, we got enough food for everybody. All right, so back to iOS, which is what you're really here for. So if you notice, when I click on items in the left-hand pane, it shows up in the first panel. There's 3 panels total. There's one over to the left, one in the middle. Yes, it is. If you're having issues, wait. Go to bhacker.com/workshops. I'll repeat it at the end as well. We do need an aisle for fire safety. I don't want anyone to get hurt.
Or on this side? Because it's fire code issue.
Yeah. Okay. So,
There's 2 chairs.
maybe I can get my internet access now, actually. Let's see. No, okay. All right, so there's 3 panels total. This is the file part. Whatever you click on here shows up here. We also have this panel over here to the right. I call this the properties panel or the side panel. Here's your trick to figuring out where you're at and what you're doing. If you look up in here where I'm hovering my mouse right now, in the left-hand corner of this right-hand corner of the screen, you see these things with blue and black? Hopefully you can see it up here. Upper right-hand corner of the screen. If you click on this one here and it goes blue, it means it's turned on, and you can see I'm bringing up the lower pane. And then here, the one on the right, I'm getting rid of and clicking on and getting rid of the one on the right. And I can get rid of the one on the left as well by going like this. So if you get lost, you can't see what I'm seeing, go up here and make sure it's all blue. If it's all blue, you've got everything opened up. Because what ends up happening is a lot of students will click on something and they don't know what they clicked on, and it goes away and they can't see what's on there, so they can't figure out where they're at, and they can't, where's this file thing? I can't even click on that, and then you get lost completely. So just turn everything blue up here. Over here, this rotates what's in here, the center parts. So if I click on this thing with this tuxedo, I call this the tuxedo icon. If I click on the tuxedo icon, I have 2 now. If I click on this one that looks like a blank piece of paper, I have 1. So this is a single view or a multiple view kind of component. So I'm clicking on now, just toggling back and forth. That's the next set of buttons. My complaint about Xcode is these buttons are so small. And then inside of the little window, you got even smaller buttons. Like these buttons are bigger than some of the other buttons. So anyway, let's start in. I know that was a real quick introduction to Xcode, but let's start in and I'll talk more about Xcode as I go through it. So click on the main.storybird file. So you have this thing over up in the top. And I'm going to get rid of my bottom panel so it makes my screen a little easier to see. If I click on the window, I know it's selected when the blue around it shows. If I'm trying to do something to the window and it doesn't have a blue border around it, it means, in fact, I have to stop this recording because my computer's complaining. So I'm going to, well, let's leave it. I'll wait till my computer crashes first. So if this is not blue, and the way you turn it blue is to click on this bottom black part down here. This is called a view controller. If it's not blue, whatever you do is not going to change. You're not going to be able to add things to this or change things. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on it, make sure it's blue. And then in the right-hand pane over here, I have this part open up over here. And I'm going to change some of the attributes about the window. So if I have this clicked on and it's blue, I'm talking about the view. So I see it says view controller, so I can say which view controller. Don't change anything yet, by the way. What view controller is attached to the view, and what, what file, and how is, things. And there's not very much you can change on this. So what we really want to do is change the item that's inside of it, which are the components. So I clicked inside of the window. Now I have the window properties that are inside of the view controller. Don't worry if you didn't get any of that terminology. I just felt I should explain it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background color. So where it says background over here, I'm hovering my mouse. And I'm only having you to do this so it loses your fear of clicking on stuff now that I told you not to click on anything. I'm telling you to click on something. So go ahead and click where it says white. And, for some strange reason, I cannot get away from the color green. I like green, so all my apps have green backgrounds. So this is no exception. So go ahead and change the background color of the window. And so now we have a green background. And then on the lower part of the screen down here, you see this thing is called an object library. Inside of the object library are a bunch of objects that you can drag and drop and stick on the window. So once I've changed my background, I can change some other properties here as well. And the other properties might be, I don't know, the opaque, hidden. I can hide the form, but I don't really want to hide the form. Or I can do some auto resizing. Anyway, so on the lower right-hand side, at the lower end of the bottom, I just clicked on it way down here, underneath this, next to the speakers here, actually, right above the speakers. For those people in the back, it's really hard to see. But way down here is a search field. So if I type label, L-A-B-E-L, in the search field, I see an item comes up that says label. Drag a label. How do you drag the label? You just click on the label. It turns blue. You can sort of see it on the thing. And then put it on the desktop. Or, excuse me, put it on your view. And then let go. When you do that, double click on it, and you'll see that the inside is changeable. You can edit it. So because we're building Hello World, let's type in Hello World. So type in Hello World. And then we can play around with the properties of the label. So what I'm showing you is how to build the UI. So I always start out building the UI first because that's the fun part. And then we connect the UI and we make it functional. And we add some more features to it. So click on the label that you just put out there. When you click on the label, it looks kind of like that. It means it's selected. Over here on the right-hand side, I can press, as an example, right here where I'm hovering my mouse, and I can center the contents. I can also stretch the label out, so I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out. And this way. And you see when I stretch it, I see those dimensions, the height and the width shows up. You can do it visually, or you can do it through programming. If you do it through programming, it's going to be over here in this right-hand panel. Most people in the beginning just do it visually. And then you have the guidelines to line things up if you need to. So I made the label bigger than the words inside of it, because the next thing we're going to do is put a text box in there and then take the text box text and add it to the label so we can change the label to say something else further down the road. So I made it a little bit bigger. You might want to make it bigger, just so you know. Then I pressed on the center to center it. And that's really all I'm going to do with the label right now. So if we were really writing a Hello World program, this program would be ready to roll, right? We're going to do a little bit more than this, by the way. But if you look over here in the left-hand corner of the screen, you have an arrow. The arrow runs the program. Lucky for you, iOS has a simulator built right in, emulator built right in. So if you click on the little thing, you might get some prompts if you just installed Xcode, something in regards to do you have a developer account, their warning messages or their information that's going to tell you something about the, enable developer mode or do something. I'm working on a Retina, so my screen is probably going to look smaller than yours. And so this is the emulator here. If I not close, I'm just going to minimize Xcode for a second. And leave the little green Hello World program out there. You see up here on the left-hand side of the screen, it says iOS Simulator. You can control the simulator through the top menu bar. This is for the brand new Mac people. So I have the program running. So it's not a bad idea just to, when you do some changes to the UI, run it, see if it runs. If I click on the emulator here, I can go over here and I can say reset settings, reset. It takes and removes everything as soon as I close the app, actually. Takes and removes everything and puts everything back to the defaults. So now I see I have this emulator, and the emulator is actually quite feature-rich. It supports a lot of stuff. So you don't actually have to have any iOS devices to test. You can also run this, let me close this simulator. You can also run the program on an iPad. So it says iPad Retina. I'm changing the. So what I did is I went over here. I'm hovering my mouse right now, and I changed the device. So it's an iPhone app, but I'm running it on an iPad emulator. So now if I click on the arrow, it'll bring it up with a different iOS simulator. So you can test for iPad, iPhone. So here now it's a little bit bigger, actually. And so it's stretched out as if I were, see this 1x here, 2x. So if I were to take this app and run it on my iPad instead of my iPhone, it's an iPhone app, I should say. So I can basically simulate it, see what it looks like. Eventually, if you get into this, you are going to want to buy a device. And then what you do is you get yourself a developer's license for $99 a year. And you get a license certificate. You connect the device, and then you're able to test it on the device. You can't test it on a real device unless you have a developer's account. If you get a message or a warning inside of this screen here, usually it shows up around here-ish. It says something about a developer account, and it's a warning. It's a yellow, some of you might have it, that's why I'm mentioning it. I have a developer account, so I don't have the warning. But you might see a yellow triangle thing with a warning in the developer mode. That means you have to go to developer.apple.com and sign up for a free developer account. And what you do is it's not a developer account. I shouldn't give you that impression. It's a registration. So you register with Apple with your Apple ID that you're using, that you've used to download Xcode, which is your email address, essentially. And then that warning goes away. It might not go away immediately, especially if you're trying to do it right now. Don't worry about it. It's a warning. Your apps and everything will still work. It just means you didn't register. Because in the old days, you had to download Xcode from the developer website, and they got you. You had to fill out a registration form so they knew who you were. So now you take it from the Apple store. They don't know who you are. They want to know who you are. So you have to go fill it out manually now, which is what that's about. All right, so let's go back to app building. Close your emulator down and keep Xcode open. If not, reopen up Xcode. And some people are going to accidentally do this, so I'm going to show you something real quick. If I close Xcode and I go, oh no, I've lost all my work. No, everything is saved automatically. And the way you bring it back up is, I put this on the desktop so I could find it easily. You click on this one here that looks like a blue, the blue icon. It says Xcode Project. Double click on Xcode Project, and it'll bring it back up for you. So, and then also you can move that folder anywhere you want. It doesn't have to stay where you originally created it. Android has to stay where you put it. iOS is more flexible. So if you're an Android person, that's why I mentioned that. All right, so let's be a little bit more creative, actually. Let's go down to the library on the bottom of the screen after you click on main.storyboard, and let's try the text labels. So type in, T-E-X-T, and we get a text field. I'm sorry, I meant to say text field, not text label. So text field shows up here on the lower right-hand side of the screen, and it's a little text box. It's not too bad. So I drag it over, and it looks like this on my screen. It's a simple drag. Just drag it over. It's possible that the search may not yield anything. If it does, it means you don't have this blue guy, and that's a very good question, a very good thing to point out. You don't have the object libraries selected. So there's 4 different submenus down here. So if you have this one selected, you're not going to get anything. You're going to have some code. These are for files. This next one here is going to give you blocks of code and things you're going to do. This blue one here is going to give you the object library. And then this one on the end, no matches, multimedia, media library. I don't have any media in here, so it's not going to give me anything. So if you're having problems seeing it, look at where I'm running my mouse right now. Just make sure you've clicked on the blue. This is like a little square. It's a little box here. It's supposed to be an object. We're pulling the stuff out of the object library. Why do they call it a library? Well, these are the classes that we're adding to it, or the object components we're adding to it. So if you got a text field, now you can change the properties of the text field. I'm just going to kind of leave mine alone, but I am going to make it a little bit bigger here. Because when I type something into the text field, I'm going to have it change the label. Because why not? So now what we're going to do, hopefully you have the text field and you have a label. That's all you need. I'm going to get rid of the side panel because I want to make more screen space for you guys to look at. So I'm going to click over here and get rid of the side panel. And I'm going to move this guy over a little bit. And now I'm going to click on this thing that looks like a tuxedo. So it's a little tuxedo. It says Assistant Editor. I call it a tuxedo. So it's not going to find, well, actually some books call it a tuxedo too. So you click on a tuxedo, now I have the 2 panes in the middle instead of the 1. But I got rid of my side panel, so I have a little bit more room to show you stuff. And it automatically brings up this thing called viewcontroller.m. So if I look at the options on the top, I can manually switch over. So if you have it where it says viewcontroller.m on there already, then you can leave it and switch over. What we want to really show is viewcontroller.h. Because we have 2 files that work with this view controller. So I'm going to switch over here, I'm going to go to manual, and I'm going to switch on viewcontroller.h. So I had to do it by clicking, oh, see now it says automatic on it. If it says automatic, switch it over. So where you're looking is way up here. Yes? You can also switch that by just holding your mouse over. Yes, you can, actually. Yeah. I don't know which do you think is easier? Yeah. Yeah, you can switch it here. If you see this, if it's on automatic, the problem is I have changed my settings, so I'm not on automatic automatically. So I just put myself on automatic though. So if it says automatic right here, what he was saying, it's a very good point actually. Instead of going through all the manual stuff, you don't have to. Go ahead and click on here, switch it over. You want to be in viewcontroller.h. You want to see viewcontroller.h on the right hand side. You want that because we're going to do this thing called wiring. We're going to take a component that's on the UI and wire it to this viewcontroller.h file. If you're having problems keeping up, don't worry about it. This is all documented. A nice, easy tutorial for you. So this is what they call the interface. So each of these views have a view controller object that controls it. The view controller object is part of model view controller actually, and it's Nothing more than the brains behind the interface. So, and this is the user interface when I say interface. So at interface and at end defines the interface. Don't do this, but I'm going to show you something in a minute here. For the .m, at implementation and at end is the interface for the .m for the implementation. Excuse me, I shouldn't say the word interface. It's the implementation of the interface. If you're a C++ programmer or a C programmer, this is like the .h and the .c++. So in Objective-C, and the Objective-C is the language they use for iOS. I will have a separate Objective-C programming tutorial coming up soon for the absolute beginner, which will be Hello World for Objective-C, plus a few other things as well. Objective-C is not hard to learn if you know a little bit about C. If you're a college student in computer science, you've probably taken a C course somewhere along the lines, hopefully. But anyway, what I normally do is put some spaces in between the at interface and the at end so that I can control where I'm dragging stuff to. So I'm going to click on the label. So this is twofold. There's two things you got to do to get the, what you're looking for is a little blue line. So you click on the label and then you click on the control button on your keyboard. It's called control drag. And you drag it, you see this blue little line. You want a blue line. You don't get a blue line, you'll be dragging your label all over the place. You got a blue line? Let go. Let go of the mouse, let go of the keyboard. Make sure you drag it in between at interface and at end. What we're going to do is create this thing called a property. A property is something where we can change things with. So that's how we're going to get at this label. So let's call it the label, for lack of better creativity. So I'm going to say the label. So I typed in the label for the name. For the type, this is called a UI label. It's just user interface label. That's what it stands for. When you have the label filled in with UI label, you click on connect. And you have this lovely little property. And the property has a little, kind of a small, depends on how big your screen is. My screen's pretty big. A little button over here. If you hover your mouse over the button, it shows you which property it's connected to. So you know it's connected correctly when you've done it this way. Yeah? 2 minutes? Okay. Okay. You lost it all. Okay, I can give you 2 minutes. We have any questions while she's doing that? Sorry. Oh, wait a minute. Let's do it one more time. Actually, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it to something else. So I'm going to click it, and I'm going to press the control button on my keyboard, and I'm going to get it this way.
So if we have 4.2,
Same thing works with 4.2.
I'm seeing a whole bunch of small code in .h file.
Okay, so this is a good time because once you learn how to wire, you never forget. So I'm going to take a 2 minute thing, just quickly scan the room. I know it's a huge crowd to do this with, but I'm just going to take 2 seconds with each person. So if you have to use the restroom, this is a good time. So probably, let's say about 5 minutes at the most. So let's keep the volume down because it's going to be hard to hear. So let me go over here, and maybe while... Yes.
So I have a 4.2.
Oh, that's fine. So she's hosed. Restart your thing. If you have a little wheel that has color on it, you're stuck. Anybody else over here? Quick. We're absolutely not. Do you have internet access? Yeah. Okay. So click. Wow, there's nothing in there. I went for the X-rays. This is okay. So click on main explorer. What is this thing? Okay, so just close the project and open up a brand new one. Close the project, open up a brand new one. And it'll do that. Just create a brand new one. File, new. Work file projects. Oops. I know you're kind of rushing, so. It's okay. I'll come back to you. Anybody else real quick? I'm going to start this way and I'm going to go that way. I can't make it that far. There we go. What you got? You have to right mouse click. Right mouse click. You guys know what a right mouse click is on your... Okay, I'll come back. Right mouse click. Oh, you got it. You're back. So drag a label and drag a text box over it. Down here at the bottom. Type in label. There we go. Anybody else real quick? Well, I'm moving this way, so let me go over here first. Alright, so next time I do this, I'm going to have helpers. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Works good. That's because I was standing here. Yeah. Get rid of it down here. Just press this guy. Oh, come on. There's a toggle to get rid of it. It slides left and right. Yes. Because it's blue. You're adding it to the view controller. So click on here. That's weird. I don't know why it's so. I close it. I don't know. I close it. Bring up a new one. Make sure you're in the view when you try to add something. Did you ever say close? Real quick. Xcode 3, you have a thing called Interface Builder that's a separate program that you have to run to build this with.
Okay, that's already.
Yeah. Yes? Oh. There's an iPad going around for a sign up. Do we know what the iPad is? Okay. Are we circulating it around? I don't know. Do you want to handle it? Okay. Next. Yes? We found it. So that's what see if I wait long enough, people will solve their own problems. What do you have? Looks good. Oh. Click on the tuxedo icon. Right here. Change it over to viewcontroller.h.
And then try to drag it.
Drag it. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have disappeared.
Excuse me?
I just clicked it.
Click on it. Come over here to the right. And change the background.
Yeah.
That's for the label. So don't click on the label, click on the view. Actually, it is on there. That's, you know.
And now try to grab. Oh, I think I could be like. I think that's me.
What version of Xcode is that? Oh no, that should be good. That should be alright. Close the project, make a new one. Make sure you're not blue when you drag it over. Some people are dragging items over to the view controller and not to the view that's inside of the view controller. So make sure it's not blue when you drag a label over. Looks good. Control right drag. Control. Mouse click. Hit over. Whoa. I hope it. I should. Okay, so a common common problem I think I should point out because then I don't have to see as many people. The Apple is not the best. Well, I shouldn't say that. Probably some Apple fans here. I'm an Apple fan, don't worry about it. But look what I got. It's a 2-button mouse. There's a such thing as a right button and a left button. I've been frustrated with this so much, I decided to buy a mouse. So I plugged the mouse in. And when I plug my mouse in, I have more control over what I'm clicking and dragging. So the problem that I'm seeing with about 4 people so far is that they're clicking on it. Whoops. They're clicking on it, they're pressing the control button, but nothing's happening. So there's a right button and then there's a left button, and I've been saying it wrong actually. It's the left, right, left. It's the left button. It's the button you do to select with. So it's not right, it's a left button. So do a left button click. I said it wrong actually. So it's a left button click, drag. If you're not seeing the blue line, 2 things might happen. Not between the app interface and the app end, or you're clicking on the wrong button. So it's probably the wrong button because I started to say right. So fix your problem if that's it. Yeah? Oh, name the label anything you want, but don't label it label. Oh, it's just a naming convention. It's called camel. Name the label anything you want to name the label. Don't name it label. Don't name it UI label. Because the Xcode will allow you to do it, but you'll have a problem with that. So, can I move on? Okay, perfect. So if I didn't get to you, don't worry. I will get to you later, probably at the lunch hour, hopefully. If not, when in doubt, start over from scratch. And this is all documented for you. It's in a PDF file if you can get to that website, and I'll review the website at the end. In fact, let me just show you real quick for those people who can get it. It's step by step. So it shows you, this is what we're building actually. And it'll show you how to do everything, including, here's the nice little control drag thing for wiring. It's actually not too bad. I'm not following the steps exactly the same way they're in here, but this is the do at home kind of thing if you can't get it here. So don't worry about it if you can't get it here. Okay, so I have a label and I have a text box. I'm going to put another label out there to say enter your name. So I'm going to click over here. I have put the label in here. So I'm going to click over to the right because I just noticed I forgot that. And put another label on here. This is optional for those people who are still catching up. The app will work just fine without the enter your name prompt. So drag the label over. And I double click on it and I type in enter your name. There we go. So that's a little added piece you can do on that. So now what we're going to do is play around with buttons. We're going to put a button on here. When you click the button, it's going to take the text that's in the text label and it's going to put it on the label for us. So it's going to take this, enter your name, and it's going to say, hello, Barbara, or it's going to put Barbara or something out here for us. So I'm going to make my interface a little bit easier for you to see, less complicated, by getting rid of the side panel here. Well, actually, before I do that, I want to drag a button over. So I'm going to drag a button. So I'm going to type in button on the bottom here. And I see it doesn't look like a button. The iOS 7, I'm on iOS 7 by the way, it doesn't look like an old traditional button. Your button might actually look more like a button, a round rectangular button if you have an older interface. But go ahead and drag the button over. And I'm going to stick my button in the middle here. And it says button on it. So I could say press me. But let me show you something that people like to do. So we'll get fancy with the button. I'll show you how to put an image on the button. So oh, you can't go to the internet. You don't have internet access. So I'll just demonstrate it to you. If you have internet, or does anyone have internet access yet? Oh, you do have internet access. Oh, perfect. Maybe I have it now then too. Let's see. No. Wait, hold on a second. HD free. I'm sorry?
Half a dozen.
Yeah. I think maybe it was a sure number of people. Oh, no. Oh, maybe everyone's going to the internet. If you can get to the internet, download a PNG or a JPEG file if you want. Let me try one more thing. I'm going to get on the member account and see if that works. Actually, let me just disconnect and reconnect. I wish I could get my internet connection fixed here. Hold on. Could be where I'm standing too. Maybe there's limited. Well, I had access earlier, so. All right, so lucky for me, I have an image out here ready, and we actually have the completed project. So if you have internet access, you can get to that URL I told you about. You can download not only the tutorial, but you can also get the finished file, the finished project in a zip format. So if you're having problems, the URL is bhacker.com/workshops. So it's this URL, but it doesn't work for me. So if you can remember, and if after we're done, I can write it down for you, or put it on. Maybe next time I'll have it on a little card or something, so you guys can have it with you. So I'm going to open up the finished project actually. So and just let's just copy it here. So I'm going to pretend like I just downloaded an image and I paid for it. I didn't do it illegally. And I have an image that I'm allowed to use. So I have this one here. It's called Pin. And usually what people ask is, well, what format does this image have to be in? You want to make a small icon kind of image. If it's too big, it doesn't look good when it's scaled down. So you want like a 50 to 300 or 400 maximum pixel by pixel. Don't pick a huge image. Also, when you look at the image, I can't show it to you, but when you look at it and you want to download it or save it to your desktop, it has a bunch of gray checker boxes on the back. It means it's transparent background. This one has a transparent background. PNG, JPEG, GIF, they all work. So you think, well, okay, so I have this lovely little image I'm going to put on my button because I don't like my label. Well, I could like it anyway. So what I'm going to do is drag the image into my project. So I clicked on the image, and now I'm going to drag it in here. And I'm going to stick it, it doesn't really matter where you stick it. I'm going to put it in the main project folder. So right underneath the project package folder, I've got it looks like a folder. If I let go of it, make sure you click this button on the top that says copy the items into the destination groups folder. If you don't copy it in, it stays and it gets linked to wherever it's at. Later on, I'm going to clean up my desktop, I'm going to throw it away, and I'm going to lose my image. So if I copy it and it actually ends up in the project folder, which is where you want it. This is by default is not clicked. So you have to make sure you click this one here. And then go ahead and click on finish. Leave everything else on its default. I put it in the first app, target. So I didn't put it in my test cases. I'm not going to talk about test cases today, but there's automatic unit testing that goes along with this as well. But go ahead and press finish. Now I see the image, and if I click on the image, I actually see the image inside my project. And if I go to my desktop and I look at the first app, and I click on the first app, I see it now inside my project folder as well. So it got copied inside of the project. Now I have it with the project, I move the project, I want to use another image, it all works together. Okay, so now I'm going to click back on the main storyboard. I'm going to click on the button that I was there before, and I'm going to change the button to show the image instead of text. Nobody likes to show text. I have images all over the place. So, all right, so that's what I usually do. It's pretty simple. So if you're not seeing the side panel where it says button up here, and as I went around a few minutes ago to the room, I noticed that some people it said view up here, and I'm like, no, you can't change the label unless it says label up here. So the no-brainer trick to find out where you're at is click on something, and let me hover my mouse over here. Whoops. I want to be on label, and then here I'm on text field, and here I'm on button. If I'm on button, this is where I want to be. So change it to button. And then down here on the bottom where it says image, when you click on the little arrow, you should see the image. My image says pin.png. So I'm going to click on the image. And I have this huge pin that shows up on the desktop. If your image, this pin is actually kind of big. I don't know how many resolution it is, but it's pretty big. So if I come over here and I want to get rid of this, because it still says button right here, you can put an image and you can also put text on the button if you wanted to. On our button, I'm going to get rid of the word button, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to backspace over where it says default title now, which is going to be empty. So now the title went away. They don't put anything next to this that says the title or the text. But right here where it says default title, it probably says button on there. And the word button is going to show up on your button. So now I'm going to resize my button a little bit and make it a little bit smaller. There we go. So it looks like a button. So now comes the programming part. So let's see how this works. So I'm going to get rid of the side piece by making the side go away. Move this over here a little bit. We have a couple more things to wire. So, and I will tell you the wiring part is probably the trickiest part to get the hang of. So I'm going to switch the viewcontroller.m back to the viewcontroller.h. If this screen went away, click on the little tuxedo icon, make sure he's blue right here. And by the way, this is being recorded, so you can go back and take a look if you get lost as well. So some people have already been lost, and I see the computer shut already, so don't worry. So anyway, that's a bad sign when your computer's shut already. So let's see. Take the text box and click down on the control button. We're going to make a property out of the text box as well. So click on the text box, click on the control button, and drag it over. And let go. I'm going to call this the text. And I'm going to press connect. So now I have two properties. Actually, if you're completely lost, just watch and then do it later. That's probably good advice for some at this point. So we have the label, we have the text, and I left this one here alone. Enter your name isn't connected to anything. It's just empty. So we're going to do something different with the button. So we have two things in iOS. We have properties, and then we have actions. So this is called an IB action that we're going to do for this guy. The other ones are just properties. If you know about object orientation, think of it sort of like data and functions, or data members and member functions, depending on what language you know. They're called different things, but one of them is the data. The other ones are the functions that we're going to do on the data. But in the iOS, they call it an action. So if we right mouse click on the action, or excuse me, right mouse click on the button, we get this little thing that comes up. And then you discover all the things you could possibly do to a button. And if you look at the list, you can see that you can touch, cancel, touch down, repeat, touch down, drag exit, drag inside, touch down, upside down. All the possible things you could possibly do to that poor little button that's sitting on your interface. You can program them all differently. If you program them differently, then you can control what the user does. If you do too much of that, the user's confused. So because we're going to run this on the emulator, I'm just going to pick this one here. It says touch down. Pick anything but the touch cancel. Touch cancel is not going to do anything for you. But the way that I select this one now is I click on the little plus sign over here. So I'm going to leave my mouse here for a few minutes so you guys can catch on in the back there. When you press on the plus sign, and I'm left mouse clicking to select it, and then I'm going to drag it this way, I don't actually have to press the control button anymore. If you press the control button out of habit, that's fine. You used to have to. You don't have to do it anymore. You can just drag it now. Inconsistent, yeah. I usually put the IB actions below the properties. So if you do that, you get the arrow. Make sure you're in between the at interface and the at end, and you're in the viewcontroller.h file. Let go. This one's the button. So, but really it's going to be the button press. So I'm going to label this one button press. And then underneath it, you see type. And before, what we were looking at was a UI label and a UI text field. You can leave it on ID, but that doesn't really tell me very much 6 months from now when I go back to look at this and I go, what in the world was that thing? I like to change the type so I remember what it is. So under where it says type, I'm going to toggle it and put it on a UI button. If you already clicked connect and you're on an ID, that's no problem. ID is a generic object type. It works for everything. But when I click on connect, now I see UI button over here instead of ID. So further down the road, if I didn't label this button press, I labeled it something else. I know it's a button because of how I labeled it. Once it's connected, you should see over in the black window, it should say View Controller, and it's connected to the button press. You can do this as many times as you want for all of the different actions if you want. 1 is enough right now. In fact, 1 or 2 is usually enough for everybody. You do too many, it gets too confusing. You can close the window now. So just close the little window. If you put your mouse over it, now the button, if you put your mouse over the little dot that's in the left-hand column, you see the button lights up. And then you see the text field. And then you see the label. So those things light up for you. Highlight for you. Anybody completely lost? Well, I shouldn't say it that way. Anyone need a little bit more time? No, we're all good?
How do you get the like select?
You click on the main storyboard. Oh.
That's fine.
You probably have something. I looked at yours earlier. There's something really weird with your settings. It's your computer's not acting like it should. Anybody else real quick? Oh, okay.
When I'm right-clicking on the icon there, I'm not getting that drop down.
So this is the time you actually right-click, not left-click. This is where you right-click. So make sure you're hitting the right button. And you're pressing on, you've got the button highlighted. Oh, you got it. I just saw it on your screen. You got it. I see it on your screen. Anybody else? Oh, after you do that, and the little button comes up, select one of these where it says touchdown or touchdown repeat. No, just do touchdown. Touchdown's a good one. Or touch up inside is another popular one. Or touch up outside. Touchdown is very safe to pick.
And what did you call it?
Oh, I called it button press. Anybody else real quick? Wow, you're way back there, but let me see what I can do right now. I can catch people on the way. Okay. Because this is another critical time the functionality is not going to work unless you got your button wired. Whoa, way back here. False, yeah. Oh, that's. Your interface is a little confused. Just put another label out there. You probably, it could have gotten, oh, there it is. Start over with a new project. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it. It's probably that you added it to the view controller instead of the view. Yes? Let me show you the image because another person has the same question, I think. So let me do that one more time on the image. I'm going to review the image thing. Most of you I see have little, okay, oh, some people have the image. That's good. I really review on the image. You drag the image from your desktop or wherever you have it. You drop it into the projects. You make sure you select copy items into the destination folder. Leave everything else on the defaults. I'm going to press cancel because mine's already in there. You click on the button. You make sure that the right panel is opened by clicking on this far right little view shower. Brings up the right panel. Make sure it says button up here on the left-hand corner so you know you're on the right component. And they couldn't make this any smaller either, by the way. So it's very small. And then go down about halfway in the middle of the screen where it says image. And click on the little arrow next to the image. If your image is too big, it's gonna like take up the entire screen and you have to really resize it down. I would recommend going with like 100 or 200 pixels maximum. Like it's like an icon, not really an image. If you take a huge picture and you stick it on there, you're not even gonna be able to see it. It's gonna be covering up the whole background. So once you have this selected, it should appear automatically. And then resize the button. So hopefully that helped a couple people. Anything else before I move on? Am I going too slow, too fast? Probably too slow for some and too fast for others. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the functionality now. So when we click on the button, we're going to have something happen. So I'm going to get rid of my side piece, and I'm going to move this over so you can see things all together. I have a button, I have a text field, and I have a label. So when the user clicks on the button, it's going to take the text from the text field, and it's going to put it on the label. For those people who have internet access, it's in the tutorial. I closed the tutorial. Hold on a second. Because this is the coding part, or not the coding, it's really lightweight source code writing. So if you don't get all the code I'm going to give you right now, you can look it up. Your interface might look like that. It's possible. So we're going to use an Objective-C to send a message to an object. And this is the format that it kind of looks like. So it's on, there's no page number in here. Okay, it's like, I think it's around the 6th page of the tutorial. You can cut and paste the text out of the tutorial if you can't type it, otherwise I'll just go through the syntax for you. And I'll leave this open so you guys can type it as I'm doing it when we get there. So we have two things in here. We have properties and we have IB actions. If you walk away today with the understanding of the wiring and the properties and the IB action, you're through about 3 or 4 chapters of most books. So I'm giving you a lot because it gives you some tools to play with. The way you really learn this is to practice and not worry about the source code writing, just get the functionality down. Once you learn the interface, much easier from this point forward. But people, even advanced people, keep struggling with the interface. So going back to this, we have the viewcontroller.h and we get the viewcontroller.m. If I click on the viewcontroller.m, and if I make this screen a little bit bigger, what I've been doing is clicking on the connection piece between the frame of the window, between the two things. And I scroll down to the bottom, I see I have a method. I have a method down here on the bottom, it's called button press. And it's on the bottom of my screen, and my, oops, there it is. I'm trying to get it so I can, oh, there we go, I got the margin up there now. Unfortunately, I put my taskbar at the bottom. It keeps opening up and covering up the bottom of my screen. But you see it says button press. This is the action or the method that's going to change those properties that I created. In order to use the properties, now this is where I'm going to lose a few people. We have these things called setters and getters. So if you take and learn Java programming or Objective-C programming, the first thing they teach you about setters and getters, or sometimes they call them accessors and modifiers. So if you have a property of an object, if you have an employee object as an example, and the employee had some properties, a first name, a last name. And some of the methods associated with that object might be raise, or fire, or hire, or something. Things you can do with the object are the actions. The properties store information about the objects. So the first thing they teach you in the object-oriented programming courses is all the setters and the getters, and the accessors and the modifiers, which means you have methods called, because the methods are public and the properties or the data are always private. This is how we protect the integrity of the object. So we have a method that's public. What I mean by public, it means that the user can access it and the user can change it through the controls you're putting on the UI. We have one that says a set name, get name, or set first name, get first name, set last name, get last name. So setters and getters is basically what it means in terms of setting the value and then retrieving the value of something. Your classic textbooks call it accessors and modifiers. I don't like that terminology because it makes no sense to me. I call them setters and getters. Objective-C, you can create the setters and getters automatically. Because here's the thing, if you know you're going to make these objects, and you know you're going to have these properties and you're going to have these methods, why do you keep having to create, this is like C++, why do you have to always create your own manual methods? If you know you're going to have a set name and a get name, you might as well be able to synthesize it. Through the synthesize process, you're going to create it automatically. The system's going to do it for you, which makes the public interface of the set and the get for you. So they actually call it synthesize in Objective-C. So all your properties, you synthesize them. What does that do? It makes them available. So if you're lost completely, pick up a introductory object-oriented programming book and research a little bit on setters and getters, accessors and modifiers, usually in chapter 1 or so of this book. That will kind of go through the process for you. When you click on the viewcontroller.h file, you're going to see at the top it says at interface and at end. And then underneath it, it says at implementation and at end. Well, this is kind of tricky too, because I just told you the viewcontroller.h file has the interface in it, and the viewcontroller.m file has the implementation. Both files work together. So from a traditional programming perspective, the .h is the public interface. So you put all your methods, your prototypes of all your methods, and you define all your properties and all your data in there, and then you implement it, which means you write the source code in the .m file, which is the same thing as the .h and the .c++ file. Can't teach you everything about programming today, but I can tell you what these things are about. So this makes it private. So if we have a public interface and it's in a viewcontroller.h file, if we stick stuff in here, it's not public, it's private. It still can be used in the add implementation, but it's not going to be very much useful for us outside of that implementation. With the .h file, we could technically have multiple implementations. Are we seriously going to have that in this environment? No. So some books actually have gotten rid of the .h, although the .h is always there. And they stick everything in here, treating this like the .h. And then this is down here is the .m. So then they go, well, what in the world do I mean by that? And then you lose the concept. So lots of people, in fact, I'm just going to get rid of it because I don't like it there. I'm not going to have any private data in my method. And private data would go in there because it would only be accessible inside of the .m file. It's not in the public interface file. So if you want to have private stuff, what I mean by private, it's only accessible inside of the object. You can't share it with other objects. Then you put it in the .m. We're not going to do that. We're going to use the .h file like we're supposed to. I have a tendency just to remove it because maybe 1% of the time I might actually have a need to use it for something. So, alright, so if I go down into the view controller, I actually see some interesting things. For example, this little method here called viewDidLoad. If you have an older version of Xcode, you have a lot more stuff in here. I love this newer version of it, 5 point whatever. It's worth the investment if you need to upgrade because it makes your life easier. The more current the version, the easier everything is. It's all integrated together. They stripped out a lot of unnecessary stuff. So if you're familiar with programming, this is main. This is the starting point because the view did load. Which the view, that's this lovely little green thing we put together. So we have a view did load, we got a view did unload, we got a suspend, we got a pause, some in the background, some in the foreground. We got all these little things. That's part of the life cycle of the object because the objects live and then they go away and then they come back and they have all this stuff associated with them. In the old days, we had 5 different ones of these methods down here. And actually, in the old days, we had this thing called ARC, automatic reference counting, and then we had storyboard or no storyboard options. They've simplified things over the years, and they've made it so there's fewer options, which is nice. But you want the options, you can put them all back. So it's completely 100% backward compatible, but you don't have to deal with it if you don't want to. We're not dealing with it today. So we're going to do things the default way. So on the view did load, I can do something like, for example, this is my label up here. When it comes up, I can change, and we'll put some code in here in a few minutes. What we have to synthesize first, but I can change the label to something, which means as the view loads, it's going to change my label to something, clear out my numbers. So all of our main, when main starts up, all of our declare this variable, set this value, do this, do that, belongs in view did load. So just think of it like main, and then we'll work with it. So underneath the at implementation, we can't forget to add our synthesize line. So here's another thing with, now that we're going to start typing some code, we can let Xcode do the work for us. So if I start typing in the at symbol, the first thing that comes up is this little pop-up window. And the most popular thing that's highlighted is called synthesize property. If you just press return, we're going to add our properties in. We have the label, and then we have the text, if I spelled it right. And then right now I'm thinking, I don't remember, but I started out with the. So all I got to do is type in the. I can remember the. So if you did the same thing, now you know why I did it this way. So you can go the. I got two options. I got the label or I got the text field. So I press OK. I'm going to press return on the label. And then I'm going to put a comma in here. And I type in the again. Now I got text field. So after you press return on that one, you put a semicolon at the end of the line. And now you synthesized. So you just created essentially 4 methods. Set the label, get the label, set the property, get the property, without having to do any source code writing. So name all of your properties, a label, a text field, the label, the text field, my label, my text field. And then remember what you use and just use it all the time if you want to save yourself having to go back and forth. Because then you just type in the, it comes up. All right. Fortunately, I have all of these little memory aids that I use myself. So I might as well share them. They actually come in handy. All right, so now that we've synthesized, in our view did load, I'm going to show you entry-level Objective-C programming. So if you're a C++ programmer, and I taught you about objects, you know about dot notation. And the dot notation is how we set properties and get properties. I'm going to show you dot notation in here, but what I really want to show you is Objective-C notation. This right here is Objective-C notation. So we don't have opening and closing brackets. Instead, we have an object followed by a message we're going to send to the object. So if we were going to write super in Java or C++, or the super concept is the object above us, because we were working with object orientation. We all inherit from object. So super is the main object, which is our view controller that we're inheriting from originally. And so view did load, which means after we run our view did load method, or actually when we run our view did load method, we're going to run and initialize all the objects in the hierarchy by going super. So you're always going to see super in here. Leave it alone, it's okay. You can put it at the top, you can put it at the bottom, but always leave it in there. Do you really have to do it anymore? No, actually you don't have to. So I'm thinking, you know, it's a bad idea to take it out because it teaches you bad object orientation, but you don't. Yeah, in your case, you're probably not going to notice it. But there's rare cases in which it does matter. So instead now we're going to write a method so that when we run our program, we're going to see hello world change to something else. We know it's called the label. So this is the way I write methods so that I make sure I get all the parts in here. So here's another little trick that I do. I start in by putting in the opening and the closing brackets and then the semicolon. Because everything that you're going to do is going to be inside of an opening and well, most of the things. So it follows the same pattern down here, but it's a template I'm going to start out with. And the first thing I'm going to do is list the object that I want to send a message to. And the object I want to send a message to is this guy up here. And this guy is going to be called the label. So I'm going to start typing in the label. So I have the object I want to send the message to, and now I have to come up with the message. Well, what am I going to come up with a message with? So I'm going to change the label. So I'm going to put a space bar in here. If you type S, then you can see where it says, well, you get all this other stuff. Here it comes up. And there's a lot of stuff that comes in here because S starts out a lot of stuff. So if I just start typing in a little bit more, like set, text. I see I got a little bit more stuff that comes up. I know it's going to be, remember I said properties have setters and getters? You have a set text, get text, which is what we're going to use. Why because it's a label. And what are we getting from the label? The text. So remember when I went back to the property in the beginning, if you think back a little bit, when we first dragged the label over, we changed the text, or we put a button on it. So it doesn't really matter, or no, that was the label, that was the button we did this with. We just changed the text of the label. So this is the text property of the object, the label that we're changing. All that stuff that appears on the right-hand side, you can change this way. So you don't like to use the GUI? Don't use the GUI, change it all with programming code. All those methods are in here. So this one we're going to use a set text, but we're going to have an interesting phenomenon occur. We're going to see this weird format that comes up. It's going to say string. Well, I don't have any strings. I'm going to make a string manually. And this is the part that new people have a problem with. We have this thing called an @ directive. So it's called a directive. It's a compiler directive. You're telling the compiler, give me a new string. Instead of saying NS string, new string, string is going to be equal to alloc init a new string, and all the other stuff. Instead, we can just simply tell the compiler, using what's called an @ directive, direct the compiler to give me a new string. It's an automatic way of telling the compiler you define the string and creating the string. It creates what's called a weak string, so it's garbage collected, so it's not too bad. You don't have very much control over it. If you wanted to do it a different way, you can go NS string, create a string variable, assign the string a value, put the string into the method, but we're not going to do that. Instead, we're just going to type in something with opening and closing brackets. And I'm going to type in new label. I'm going to just type something in here, new label. Oops, new label. And then I'm going to put a space in here because I like spaces. So now when we run the app, the new label is going to show up. And then we know our view did load worked. So you got a bunch of things, you got a bunch of stuff, data in your app you want to initialize, set everything to 0, make everything blank. You do it in the view did load method, just like main loads up, resets all your data for you. So if I run the program now, I know it says hello world right here. But if I run it right now, it should say new label on it, actually. You don't have to run it. Actually, it's not a bad idea to run it if you haven't run it yet. Let's see what happens. Have a bunch of stuff. Oh, I'm still on iPad right now. It's okay. So it says new label. So it doesn't say hello world anymore. So I just changed it. So I'm going to close down the iPad right now. I'm going to make sure to switch back over to iPhone so it looks a little better. Actually, I'm going to switch it now so I don't forget. Let's put it on the iPhone. There we go. There we go. Okay, so if we have that working, great. If not, don't worry about it. In another half hour or so, I'll be able to help you one-on-one a little bit if you want the help. So now what we're going to do is go down and do the button stuff. So the button stuff is going to take the text, that we're going to have to get the text, and then we're going to have to put the text onto the label. So we're going to set the text with the text we're going to get from the button label. So if we do that, well actually let me show you something else real quick. Let me show you something about the text. We got a little problem that we're going to have with this text field. I shouldn't say a little problem. Let me just show you what happens with the text field though. I'm going to run this again. This is a common problem actually. You go over and you look at Google. See, you're going to learn something today that people with a year experience still struggle with. And you're going to wonder why in the world? Because they don't think about it logically. So if you click in the text field, you see this thing comes up. And I type in here. I'll just put some stuff in here. I can't get rid of the keyboard. Oh no, the keyboard's gone. So actually, just for fun, you can just Google this problem. How do you get the keyboard to go away? There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people with the same problem. So I'm going to solve one problem for you today. I'm going to show you how to get rid of the keyboard. It happens a lot. You're going to put text on here. You're going to fill out a form. You're going to have this problem. Can't get rid of the keyboard, and sometimes in this case it didn't block my button. I was actually hoping it would, but it didn't block the button. I can still touch the button. Anyway, so let's solve the keyboard mystery, and I'll show you something nifty. So click on the text and click on the right properties pane over here. You can do this programmatically, or you can do it the way I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to change down here on the bottom where it says return key. Remember on the keyboard there was a key that said return on it? We're going to change it to done. So if you click on the default and go down to the bottom and change it to done, and then you're going to go, wait a minute, what's this other stuff? Google and Yahoo and all this other stuff. Yeah, you can actually use it for different purposes. You can type a URL in and take it to Google. Do a Google search with the URL. Because the event that you're programming is an exit, did, end, undone, which means you're done, sends a message. I'm going to talk about messages in a few minutes. It sends a message to an object. So send, and the object's called sender, is a generic message type. So I'll get there in a second, but go ahead and select that to done. Now if you run it, you don't have to run it, but I'm going to show you real quick just so you can see it. It should come up, book successful. Now the little button should say done instead of return. Any minute now, here we go. See, done. But when I press done, nothing happens because I don't have anything programmed for done. So just like if I put it on Yahoo, it could go to Yahoo. You want to create a search engine in 2 seconds, make a little text field, change this to Yahoo, press on Yahoo, and I'm going to show you how to put the text in a few minutes to go to an internet search, whatever. So let's see, I'm going to exit this for a second, show you the big mystery here. Not that big, actually. We have to wire another event. We have to turn this property over here. We have a property. We can leave the property alone. I'm going to click on my viewcontroller.h file. So I got viewcontroller.h that came up. I'm going to, instead of control dragging the text field, I'm going to right mouse click on the text field now. And it is the right mouse click button, by the way. I've got my buttons right now. So now where it says, you see down at the bottom, leave this alone. It says the text. And it says view controller, and it's all connected together just fine. Leave that alone. That's our property. Oops, our property's up here. We're going to take this first one over here where it says sent events. So this guy by default is called sender. The sender is the object that sent the event. And what event do we want to program to exit? So this top one, oh, actually it looks bigger on the screen than it does on my screen. It says did end on exit. Click right here or the plus and drag it over here. In between the at interface and the at end. Release the mouse. And I'm going to call this finished. And I like to change the ID, so I'm going to change the ID to UI text field. But let me tell you something. Do I really want to do that? Because I could have the same finished event on multiple different UI text fields and it's all going to match. But in the future, you might have an event that's more generic, like an event that's triggered from a label, and it's also triggered from a text field or from a button or something else, and you want it to be more generic, then you leave it on ID. That's what you leave an ID for. So you can have multiple senders of different object types all respond the same way. ID's generic. This one is going to act like a UI text field because we're going to hard label it. We're going to set the type to a UI text field. So if you press return, connect, so you get the finished method. So I'm going to close this. And now what I'm going to do is switch back to the viewcontroller.m. And I automatically get down on the bottom, or actually I put it right above the button press so my method appears automatically here. I don't actually have to type the method again. So it's until you get used to it, it's kind of weird. Usually you have to type the methods. The method prototype's already given for me, so I just fill in the method body. So I'm going to do my thing again. I'm going to do opening, closing brackets, and a semicolon. And then I'm going to arrow inside of the opening, closing bracket. And I'm going to type in sender, because now I'm being real generic here. Sender is, who's sender? In this case, it's the UI text field. It could be anything else I connect this to. And then I'm going to type in resign first responder. So I'm going to type in resign, and then it's going to come up for me automatically, actually. It's right here. Resign first responder. So you're going to go, what's a first responder? It's weird terminology, but remember like when you call 911 and the first responder comes out? If it's a fire, it's probably going to be a fire truck, hopefully. If you're getting robbed, it's probably going to be a police car. So if you're the sender in your text field and you're going to resign the first responder, that first responder, when you click into a text field, is a keyboard. It's a number pad that it's going to pop up. But we're not even going to identify that because it might be something else. It might be something on your screen. It might be a Bluetooth keyboard or something. It might be, but it's just generically, it's the first responder. All of your activities technically have first responders. Is there really a need to resign a first responder for a label? No. There is on a text field though. So the responder that responds first when you click into a text field is the keyboard. You resign it automatically with this little message. You say resign it. It's built-in functionality that's given for you. Take that with a grain of salt, run your project, and you'll see what happens. Two things are going to happen. You're going to be able to type in the field and press return, and the keyboard goes away. And then you can also press the done button, and the keyboard goes away because it did end on exit. And exit's done. So I can type in the field now. I can go, I'm just going to put my name in there. I press return and the keyboard went away. So I type back in the field. The keyboard's back. Oh, I want the keyboard to go away. Press the done button. So now later on this afternoon when you're bored on a rainy Saturday afternoon, Google this and you'll see thousands, hundreds of thousands of people with this problem. So now you know something they don't know. It's not so hard to do. It's actually quite easy. But for some reason, they don't make the behavior automatic. You'd think it would be automatic, but nothing's automatic. You got to program it all yourself. I'm serious. Google it. You'll find it hilarious. All right, so quit the simulator. Go back to the project. What we really want is this guy to change the label. So we're going to go over to the UI, to the viewcontroller.m file, back into the finished method that we're implementing. You can put the resign first responder at the beginning, you can put it at the end. So for those people who know C, you're all worried about what goes first, what goes second. We have to define this before you implement it. Well, it doesn't matter. This is object-oriented programming. It's not procedural. Nothing runs from start to end. So it doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter. I like to put the first responder at the end because then it just sits there at the bottom. Just like I'd like to put the super view did load at the end, because I'm not going to touch it. What I really, when I come back in here to fix a problem, I'm going to be going to the top of the method. Why do I have to go through all the other stuff that works? So I don't. Okay, so now I'm going to click on, what am I going to click on now? I am going to click and write a new method, so I'm going to put my method prototype here. So at least I got the syntax right. I'm going to arrow inside here. So now we're going to take the label, called the label. So I really want to change the label. So the object that I want to send a message to is the label. So the object that's going to receive the message, and what's the message? Set text. So I'm going to type into set text. Now what are we going to send it? We're going to have to get the text from something. So now we can nest another call in here. So this is an opening and a closing bracket to nest another call. I'm going to write a method call, and I'm going to call it from the inside of a method call. But I don't have to put the semicolon at the end because I have a semicolon at the very end of the sentence. So in here, I'm going to put in, well, what do we got here? It's the text. Text. Well, what are we going to do with the text? We're going to get the text. All right, so get. Oops. Oh, actually, we don't have to do that. Let's not do that. Let's just go text. So the text dot text, because we have a property there. What's wrong with this? I hate this autocorrect. No, hold on a second. Let me go back to my cheat sheet. I don't know if I want to do it this way. Yeah. You know what? Let's take the brackets out because, okay, here's what I did. Here's the mistake I made. I started assuming I was going to do a method call because I was going to show you a different way. Instead, I'm not doing a method call anymore. I'm just getting a property value. And the property value that I'm getting is the text from the text. So I'm typing in TEXT. This is, and I have to put the bracket at the end. So this is the C++ syntax that everyone is usually familiar with. It's the dot notation. It's not Objective-C syntax. Objective-C syntax, all those messages that we send to methods, have to be inside of those square brackets. So I took the square brackets out because originally I was going to do that. Okay. So long story short, but that's me winging it. But so yeah, the text.text. So now if we run it, when we press return or the done, the text from the text.text. Just in case you missed it, let me just show you real quick here. We have a property. This is the property here. These are the properties. They're called the attribute inspector. Attributes and properties are very similar. Up here, right in the front of the text field, we have this thing called text. That's why I said, why in the world did they just not put the text right here? It's kind of redundant. Instead, they put it in the text. See where it says text plain, color black, font something? I seriously think the word text should be here, because this confuses everybody. This is the text we're talking about. We can change the text by using a dot notation, just the same way as we can change the hidden property. We can change other properties, or other attributes, I should say. They call them attributes here, they call them properties in the code. Kind of hard to get used to, but we can change them all programmatically, or we can do it all with the GUI. Long story short, what we're doing is the GUI because we're not going to have the user, we're not going to give the source code to this user. So if I run the program now, let me bring it up. I'm going to get internet access real quick. This is loading. I was trying to see if I can get some internet access. So now I'm going to type in my name up here, Barbara, and I'm going to press return, and I see Barbara shows up right here. So the name that I typed in here, let's see, just go here. Hello from the dojo. And then now I'm going to press this done button down here. And I say hello from the dojo, and the text goes away. And then I can go back here and go, oh, okay. Hello from, don't know where I'm at. There we go. So you should have some pretty good working functionality right now with this. At 12, in about 20 minutes from now, or 15 minutes from now, that pizza arrives and we all go haywire. And we run as everyone gets up and runs at the speed of light to go grab a slice of pizza before it's all gone. I'm going to save the later part of today to help people. So if this functionality is not working for you, don't worry about it. But what I did for you, for those people, because I get, okay, so this is what I call the MOOC, or the Moo. This is massive, semi-organized, open workshop. Too many heads to give you individual attention. So I have to save time to give you some individual attention for those who really want it, which is the 12 to 1 o'clock hour. So hold on to all your questions, you'll get them answered, and I might be able to fix it for you. However, don't stress if you can't get it working. I'm stressing because I can't get my internet to work. Let's see. Let me see if I can just get to the home page. Yeah, anyone have a computer with internet? Yeah, I'm sorry. Did it work? Do we have the pizza?
Yes.
Where is the pizza?
It's out there.
Oh, don't. Someone else has it. Okay. Oh, I have to sign. I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. I have to sign for something.
You can add whatever.
Where do I sign?
Just
Here,
don't.
you add the tip.
Okay, right.
Okay, sorry. All right. Well, what I was trying to do is bring you to that website. Instead, I'll just type it in. You know, as soon as the people start eating the pizza, I have a strange feeling the internet will loosen up a little bit. Let's see. I think it's just a sheer number of people perhaps around this. Maybe next time I'll bring in. it works. If you get this, this is because write down the most important thing just in case it goes away. bhacker.com. Yeah, I'll put this in the meetup as well. I'll put the link in the meetup. /workshops. The first link is today's workshop. If the first link works, oh no, let's just give it some time. It might work. There's a PDF file of a more formal version of the tutorial that's step by step that we just went through. There's a sample project there that's the completed tutorial. So it's the completed version of the tutorial. Underneath it, there's a really cool second level. So this is first level. Second level is a tic-tac-toe game. It's actually kind of cool. Works with images. It's a step-by-step tutorial. Walks you through dragging and dropping buttons and putting images on the buttons. I have it here. I'll demonstrate it to you so you can see what it looks like. I'm waiting for this to load. I don't know. I think I'm hosed completely. Let's just see. Underneath that, there's a Twitter tutorial. It shows you how to use frameworks. Because here's what most people do. You learn the basics. You learn how to drag and drop, how to wire, how to connect the items, how to get the stuff to work. Then you start working with the frameworks, and then it's all about the frameworks. If it's not about the frameworks, it's about Objective-C programming skills. Because if you're going to do game programming, you're going to need to learn a little bit more about Objective-C, obviously, and graphics. But you can take a look at some of the libraries for OpenGL. There's a ton of stuff in there. It's all written very C-like. And then it's all about frameworks. So the third item on this list, if it comes up, is a Twitter tutorial, where if you have a Twitter account, it's a 5-minute app that you create. You press a button, and it opens up your Twitter account, sends a message to it. I'm going to demo all those 2 apps here, because I can't get the page to load. But the tutorials look like this. It shows you the before and the after. I've been using these tutorials for a long time. I've updated the 3 that I've given you to meet with 5.0. So I've taken out some of the old stuff and revamped them because I'm in the process of revamping stuff. This is part of a book. You don't have to buy the book. You can download them from me, who's the source of it. Do it yourself. So they're all in PDF files. They're all redistributable, so there's no cost to it. So the Hello World one, you just saw the finished app because we just built it. If you go through the process of the tic-tac-toe game, you'll see in there, it goes step by step, building the board, building the pieces. Nothing any more difficult than what we did today. All 3 of them are at the same level, which is everything we just did, all over again in different steps. So we take more buttons, and we put more images on there. And then we connect more things. It's all the same level, not too much programming. And I give you the source code for the tic-tac-toe. So let me bring up the tic-tac-toe game. Let me show you tic-tac-toe. So tic-tac-toe looks like this. There's a board, and the board is the tic-tac-toe board. And I have to say I stole this off of the internet, so these are probably copyrighted. I don't know if they're copyright protected. Do not redistribute this app. I put 2 sets of images because some people like selections on their images. So there's a red image set and then there's another one. So I can download the images. I give you the images as well. If you look at the storyboard, the main.storyboard looks like that. You see the view controllers over here. I give you this code to cut and paste and stick inside the methods. Anyone in here, if you can do Hello World, you can do tic-tac-toe. If you do tic-tac-toe, this one looks like this. So let me write it for you. Now I left the game logic a little short, and I put some notes at the bottom of the tutorial to challenge anyone who wants to add stuff to it. Like right now, if I click on a X, the O comes up. I made this into a 1-player, you against the computer, and your X. You can easily turn this into a 2-player game. You can also easily turn this into a more AI-oriented. I did one the other day. I did one on Android last Friday, actually. It was a 6x6 game with 3 people. It was actually kind of interesting. The logic is all the same. You're just counting up how many are in a row. but I had three symbols. I had an X, a Y, and I had a minus sign or a question mark. You can do a third symbol. It's nice practice if you're into game programming to learn about or to think about AI and different configurations. It's simple enough that it's not that big of a, it's a little bit of a step up from Hello World, but it's not that big of a step when you look at the code. So if I continue playing the game, the computer's pretty stupid. Because if I were a computer, I want to put the O right here. I want to put the O down here. So now I'm gonna win. So I won. That's because the computer's stupid. You could make the computer more intelligent. You can also do a lot of different things with it. So I give you the code. It's actually, here's the complexity. It's not that hard actually. This is the square press method. All of the buttons, let me show you something really cool with this. And the reason why this is in here, because these are all teaching tutorials, all of the buttons are wired to one action. Instead of them all having their same action, instead of all buttons being wired to their own individual buttons, they're all wired together. I have another tutorial that I usually do for the follow-up to this course, or to this workshop, which is a calculator program. Calculator requires a little bit more programming knowledge to understand the logic of the numerators and of the numbers and the operators and all of the things in the interface. But it's done the same way. You put all the numbers to one action, all the operators to one action, and you do simple if this, if that, or case switches to go back and forth, but it requires a little bit more programming. This tic-tac-toe, no programming required. It's pretty straightforward. So that's the significant part of this one. Let me show you the Twitter one. The Twitter one is in here. Oh, and then also for the tic-tac-toe I gave you, this is the images you just looked at. You also have another one. Looks like that. You can probably make your own images, actually. That's kind of fun. And if you want to make it 3, you're going to have to come up with a third image. But make the board wider. Make this wider. So it's basically an image view, and then on top of the image views, oh, people are going for the pizza already. On top of the image view, we have the buttons. So it's either that or the bus is going to leave. So. All right, so let me show you this Twitter app real quick, because this is the other one that you can do. This one here is a very short tutorial. It's the third one that that's up at that website. You're adding a Twitter framework to the project. And in this framework, you're just going to put a little image out there just for fun. And you're going to have a little button you press. And when you press the button, it's going to... Do we have phones? It's okay. When you press the button, it's going to do a tweet for you. So if you have a tweet, you have to have a Twitter account. Sorry, I got distracted. If you have a Twitter account, it automatically creates a message for you. And the message that it's going to create is going to have this logo on it, with this URL on it. You're going to change it all around. So what this allows you to do is create an app where you have a button to tweet something out. And it uses your Twitter account you already have set up. So let me just demo so you can see what this looks like. I don't actually have a Twitter account, but you can see how this works. So I think Twitter is kind of, well, I shouldn't say negative things about Twitter. This is an old, let me show you something else as well. So I put this one in here on purpose. It is an older version project. So you have choices. Remember originally when I said you guys are all brand new to Xcode, most likely you have the current latest and greatest Xcode version. If you have a brand new computer, you've got 5-point-something Xcode. Nobody's got that but you guys. All of the old stuff that's on the internet is all made for 4 or for 3. Because we're not going to take it down to make this really fabulous tutorial that's out there. It's going to stay up there forever. So you're going to download a project, you're going to open it up, and you're going to see this message. You have the choice of not upgrading. If you leave it alone, I'm not going to upgrade, I'm going to skip here. Or you can turn it on so it says always upgrade. If you click on this little sucker here, you won't get this message anymore. Don't click on always upgrade, because then you don't get a choice anymore. You got to go back there, you got to find a property that's going to be in your Xcode. So just go ahead and press on skip. If you get a message when you try to run it that says, hey, you're missing the library, because you're on 7 and it's looking for 5 or 6 or something, let me show you a little trick. You click on the Xcode menu option and you go into what's called Preferences. You click on Preferences and it's going to tell you in the download, so you're probably here. Every time you click on something, by the way, the defaults change for you. So I clicked over here one time in my life of Xcode, so now it always goes here. If I saved it this way, it would probably go back. But long story short, if you click on downloads, you see I have XXX check marks here. I have downloaded the 5.1 simulator, the 6.1 simulator, the 5.0, and the 6.0. I'm backward compatible. If you get a message that says, hey, I don't recognize this 5.0. Update your system. Give me this stuff. Just go to this menu, click on all the stuff here. If you're a college student and you want to do C++ programming, and C programming, use GCC, click on this command line tools. Then there's no need to ever telnet to your computer science terminal anymore to do GCC, because what you do is you get this. You get the compiler, the command line tool. No input file, no wonder. I didn't give it one. But you type in GCC from your terminal prompt. You can actually compile Xcode projects at the command prompt. I'm not that sadistic, we're not doing that. However, some of your third-party libraries like PhoneGap, this is an example, is a big old package that goes and wraps up a big old Xcode project. They make command line utilities, so you don't have to mess around with PhoneGap and Xcode. You have to have Xcode installed, but you don't have to know anything about Xcode. You guys just saw Xcode. Was it that hard? No, if it was your first experience with it, it's going to take some time to get used to it. Once you get comfortable with it, it's not that bad, actually. But the makers of some of the third-party tools that make wrapper apps, not native developed apps, this is what's called native. If you're using Xcode, you're writing a native app. If you're using a third-party tool like PhoneGap, you're writing a third-party app. Lots of them have little utilities that they use, and the little utilities require command line tools to be enabled. So sometimes the utility doesn't work. They say, oh, click on this little button. All the little button is doing is going out and it's running a command line compilation of your Xcode project. But you're not using Xcode. So you don't understand, so you don't know that you're supposed to go in here and you're supposed to enable this. And then you go into the help and 10 hours later you figure out how to enable the command line tools so that PhoneGap will work. Which is a common problem, actually. So after you get done Googling the keyboard issue, Google PhoneGap compilation and you'll see there's probably 3 times as many questions out there on the internet about that. When all you have to do is come in here and turn on command line tools, and then the utility works just fine. But it's Xcode that they're running in the background, and they're doing a command line compilation. So a lot of the tools, they give you online interface, or you download a program, you run the program, or you go through a website, and they tell you, oh, you have to have Xcode installed. It's because they're running a command line compilation. So always check to make sure you have the command line tools turned on. So if I run the Twitter, well, actually, I didn't show this to you yet. So I have a method here that says tweet away. Tweet away is attached to the button. So if I go in here and I look at, let's just go back. Well, if you look at this old project, the other reason why I have this in here is to show you something. So it says viewcontroller.xib over here. And then it says viewcontroller.m and viewcontroller.h. There's no storyboard. So when we created our 7.0 iOS project, this happens to be a 6.1. I can tell because I see it up here in the corner. You find a nice example on the internet, you download the example, you bring it up into Xcode, and then you go, oh, this isn't what I'm used to seeing. Because this looks like a real button instead of the newer button in 7.0. And where's the storyboard? So the storyboard used to be an option. So we had viewcontroller.h, viewcontroller.m, and viewcontroller.xib. xib stands for Xcode Interface Builder. And it was a separate program. So when you double-clicked on an Interface Builder, it brought up Interface Builder. Just like when you click on the emulator, it brings up the iOS simulator. Then they decided to integrate it all into one. And then around 6.7, right before the next generation, then they got rid of XIB and they made it into storyboards. And you'll have to take an intermediate thing for the storyboard stuff because that's too much for me to explain within the next 2 minutes here. So, but long story short, it's an upgrade. It's a feature, more features that you have. So this is limited. You can't add a storyboard to this. You have to upgrade your project to add a storyboard to it. I didn't upgrade it. I'm going to run it as is. If I run it as is, what I'm going to get is the implementation of this API. And let me show you where the API is added as soon as I show you where the code is. Well, I'm clicking on the code button, but I've been recording for too long. I'm going to actually stop this recording